realized that I do not remember a single funeral. So what has been on my mind this week? So many things, but I'll tell you the big one. A friend of mine passed away about a week and a half ago. She was 86. It was somebody that I knew from law school. And we were pretty good friends for a long time. Anyway, she struggled with health issues and such, and it was she had a rough ending. I didn't see her at the end. In fact, we were supposed to have dinner on a Thursday, and on Tuesday, her husband called me up and said, she's in the hospital and whatever. It was pretty awful. Anyway, she lasted about another week and a half. So a week after that was the memorial service for her at her daughter's home. And it was something I was looking forward to going to. But on the day of the memorial, I just couldn't bring myself to go. And I wanted to go, but I just couldn't. I didn't feel, I ended up not feeling well, but I'm pretty sure I probably felt fine. Um, so that got me to thinking, how do I deal with death? How do any of us deal with death? And I realized that I do not remember a single funeral that I have been to. I mean, I remember that there was a funeral, but I don't remember when I've eulogized somebody, what I said. I don't remember how many people were there. I don't remember what I talked about to anyone. I block funerals out of my memory, but I don't block the person out of my memory. My way to deal with grief is through keeping that person alive. And I don't mean that in a weird way. I mean, I'll talk about them. I remember stories about the person. I'll say, oh, for example, I had a friend named Eric who was murdered back in the year 2000. And he was a really funny, bright, great guy, someone that I talked to every morning on my way to work. So he was a very close friend. And something will happen, and I'll say what Eric would have said under these circumstances. I often refer to my grandmother and the things that she would have said, and my great grandmother and the things that she would have said. And and it then does not seem like almost 30 years ago that my grandmother died, or 50 years ago that my great grandmother died. She was 91, and I was pretty close to her, and I was close to my grandmother, although she had dementia the last few years. Oh, very funny story there. I used to work out a lot, and I had really big arms. And I was with my grandmother one night because my mother and her significant other had gone out, and they asked me to hang out with her. And she looked at me and she said, "My grandson has arms like that." And I said, she said, Lowell, my grandson had, her grandson Lowell has arms like that. And I said, I am Lowell. And she said, nobody told me. So she said some pretty funny things in her dementia. She was very sweet in her dementia, if that makes any sense. And anyway, so I keep her alive and keep her alive that way. There was a fellow that worked for me years ago, and he passed away very young. He was 36. His name was Mike, and I loved Mike. I still love Mike. It was, he passed away 11 years ago, and I think about him and talk about him. We were very bonded, and he died a pretty awful death from cancer that, well, I don't know if it was preventable or was not, but I still miss him to this day. So I talk about him, and that keeps him alive in my mind. And then the other thing, several things, and I don't know about you guys, if any of you have these experiences, but I do dream about certain people uh, regularly that have passed away. Like my dad passed away about 2.5 years ago. And at the time, he was 96. And at the time, I did not think I was grieving. I thought, well, he wanted to go. And but now I dream about him, I would say a minimum of twice a week, sometimes more. And they're always really, really nice dreams. Do you dream about people that have passed away, and what kind of conversations do you have with them? I don't even know what I say to him in these dreams or what he says back to me, but they're always, I wake up feeling good. It's almost like he visited me in my dream, and so he's not really gone. And then, but I had an aunt uh, who passed away when I was, oh my goodness, I think I was 24, 25. Let's see, it was no, maybe 27. Anyway, a long time ago. She was young. She was 54. And she had a heart attack and passed away. And I'm very close to her daughter and son, my cousins. And we're all in our 70s now. To this day, I dream about her at least once a month. And the dream is always the same. We get together somehow, and I say, where have you been? Where have you been all this time? And every time that happens, when I have that dream, I get very choked up when I wake up, and and it is such a strange thing. And I asked my cousin, her daughter, I said, do you ever dream about your mom? She said, no, she's only dreamt about her one time since she passed away. And my cousin was devastated when my aunt passed away. I mean, it's not like she didn't care. I mean, she was just, I don't think she's ever gotten over it, actually. Um, but she says, no. And then she didn't really ask me to elaborate on the dreams. And it's hard for me to say out loud what happens in that dream because I can hardly ever get the words out. And then I talked to my cousin, her uh, Larry, his name is Larry. And I talked to Larry a couple of times, and he'll say, well, what did my mom say to you in the dream? He wants to know. And I don't, she always says she was away somewhere, and now she's back. And see, even now, oof, always gets to me. I don't know what it is about that. Um, anyway, it's just, just like one of those things. The dreams with my dad, no, I don't get choked up with those. Maybe because I didn't really have I don't feel like I had any unfinished business with him. Uh, and with my aunt, she died so young and so suddenly and unexpectedly that I guess there probably was unfinished business or a life that we would have continued to have, the family gatherings and things like that. I always remember she would make barbecued chicken on Sundays if we would go over to their house. They had a really nice pool and things like that. And I also remember her, my uncle was an accountant and they worked together. And this was in the days of adding machines. And she would get on that adding machine. She could punch those numbers in so fast. It was like lightning. And I think it was like a Victor adding machine. I'm sure this video is going to make no sense to anybody. It was a Victor adding machine that you would like type in the numbers of like that. And in the beginning, then after a while, it was actually the electric ones where, you type it in. I think they were like Smith Corona or something. Anyway, just a memory I've got. And then one of the strange things was then my uncle passed away, her husband. So my uncle was actually my blood relative, but she was around before I was born. So of course I never distinguished her as being his wife. But anyway, so she was just my aunt. Anyway, so he passed away one night when he was about 74. He just died. And uh, and I was just starting law school. I was 38 at the time, and my cousins, the two that I was referring to, um, said, "Why don't you live in his house until we sell it? Because someone needs to live there." So I moved in and lived there for like maybe a year and a half. I don't even remember while I was first in law school, and maybe that's where all that stuff comes from with my aunt, because I was living in the house and there were all those memories, because nothing was any different when I was there than when she was alive, although she'd been gone for many years at that point. So anyway, all that to say, uh, those are the things I was thinking about this week, and I felt bad about not going to the memorial. Anyhow, that's it. That's what I had to talk about today. I don't know. I'm very curious if you how you deal with the memory of people that you love that have passed on. And do you move on or do you move forward? If that's a question that can be distinguished in anybody's mind. Uh, I think I'll just say this about it, and then I'm going to go on. Moving forward doesn't mean that you moved on. Moving on means that you've kind of put them in the back on the back burner. They're in the back. They're behind you. Moving forward, I believe, just means that they're still with us, uh, but we move forward with our lives and continue living probably the way they would like us to keep living. And yeah, and do you think that if you do dream about these people, do you think that they're actually coming to you from another world, or do you think that you're just you're the master of the dream and you are creating the dream? If that's how you keep people alive, if you dream about them. Okay, that's it. That's what I want to talk about today, and we'll see. I'm interested to see your thoughts.